What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the All Things MSP podcast. I'm your host, Justin Esgar. With me, always, is my good friend, podcast producer extraordinaire. I'm having a hard time saying that in the last couple episodes. And missing his bacon, egg, and cheese, because this is a special breakfast episode, Mr. Eric Anthony. Eric, how are you, man?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, like you pulled that bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich out, and I'm like, really? And then you've also got the Liquid Death, which I happen to be out of. Hashtag, again, not sponsored.
Not a sponsor.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe we need to work on my title if, producer, podcast, produce. See, I can't even say it. So
Producer extraordinaire.
Yeah,
but
yeah, we might need to change it.
I'm just going to start going like, what's up, everybody? I'm Justin. This is my friend, Eric. Hi. And like, move on with our show.
Hi.
The reason we're talking about bacon, egg, and cheese is we're recording this a little bit earlier than we normally do to make way for our good friend and guest today, because I like when we have guests on, who comes all the way from England. Bring him up, is Mr. Tim Bowers, CEO of Halo. Tim, how are you, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, man. Thanks very much for having me on. Not so much bacon, egg, and cheese over here. We're more of the English fry up. But
full English breakfast, right?
Yeah. The feeling.
Doesn't that put you in like a coma?
Yeah, it does. You could definitely go too far with that. Yeah.
Well, so I want to talk today about your product, Halo. For full transparency, just because I'm like that. Virtual Computers uses Halo. We're an onboarding partner with Halo. We do a lot with Halo, and it was right time that we bring you on. So, Tim, why don't you give everybody like a 2-minute spiel? Who are you? What is Halo? And I don't know. I was gonna. Crap! Sure. I lost it. Hold on. Because we already talked about breakfast and it threw me off. Okay, hold on. I got it. All right, let me do that one again. Sorry. All right, so for full transparency, Virtual Computers uses Halo. We're an onboarding partner with Halo, but we're not going to talk about that today. I want to talk to you, Tim, a little bit about what is Halo. So give everybody a 2-minute spiel. What is Halo? Who are you? And what's your favorite holiday?
Okay, we'll start with the easy bit. So so I'm Tim Bowers. I'm the CEO over at Halo PSA. And for those of you who don't know what a PSA is, I guess, that's a professional service automation software. And that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But for MSPs and IT industry, that means a piece of software to run your business. So you're going to do your sales through it, your pipeline, your service desk, your project management, your contracts, your renewals, and all your billing. And all that stuff runs through Halo. So we're not getting into the device management or anything like that. It's all kind of to do with service delivery and kind of customer interaction, really. So yeah, that's what a PSA is. Not everyone uses one today. We think everyone should be using one. And Halo is one of the newer ones compared to the incumbents. You've got ConnectWise and AutoTask, which have been around for a while. And you can tell they've been around for a while. And we're a bit of the newer option, really. Same functionality in most areas, but we're kind of going places still. So we've got some exciting updates around all the kind of classic buzzwordy stuff like AI, but also some kind of more interesting stuff going on as well. Favorite holiday? Oh man, I don't know. I think my favorite holiday is whenever I get to come to America and go to somewhere that's not Florida and it's not Vegas. Because every time I go to America, it's a trade show. It's Vegas or Florida, and I'm a bit sick of them.
Well, again, for full transparency, for full transparency, Halo is going to be at ACES conference, which is happening May 15th and 16th in Salt Lake City. So at least you get to come to America and not be in one of those two places. So
yeah, I like coming and seeing the real America, all the different bits and facets that it has to offer, not I don't know, the prepackaged holiday destinations that kind of Florida.
Well, maybe we'll see you at an Exchange or a Next Gen, because the channel company tends to, I mean, they do have some things in those locations, but they tend to have in other locations as well. So that may be one to look at, because I know that a lot of vendors.
Come to New York. We'll get you a bacon, egg, and cheese.
Oh yeah, I'd love that. Yeah. I still haven't got to New York yet because there doesn't seem to be that many conferences there. But
it's because it's expensive. I don't know if you know this. New York is hella expensive.
Vegas gets pretty expensive as well. But I guess
Well, thanks for coming on. So let's get into you made a comment, and this is kind of where I want to take the episode anyway today is why should an MSP be using a PSA? Now, remember, we've been talking about this fact now for a couple of episodes that our friend Dave Sobel said that like 85% of MSPs do, what was it? Or like sub $500,000. They're like 1 or 2 person shops. Why would a company that's that small really need a PSA? Because obviously I think the bigger ones are all using something already, right? A lot of the bigger companies are, and also on the same token, I'm starting to see a big shift, at least in the Apple MSP side, where they're all deciding to pick up on a PSA now. Like it seems to be the new buzzword. We're always like 5 years behind on the stuff that the PC MSPs are doing, even though we're using more and better technology. But the fact that I'm seeing a lot more Apple consultants moving to a PSA also. So why should these smaller companies and Apple consultants and such move to a PSA? And what's the benefit in a small company using it?
Yeah, I mean, for small companies, there's a couple of main reasons. One of them is that you use the tool. The main reason to use a tool is to get full transparency and visibility over your business operations. So you can easily tell how profitable XYZ customer is. On the extreme side, you can then use that data and cut a customer if they're not profitable and they're not ever going to become profitable. And you can put more effort into your guys that are profitable to help them grow and make them an even more profitable customer. And it's very difficult to do that if you don't have all of that information in one system. I would suggest that if you didn't have a PSA, you can get that same data if you're going to put a lot of time and effort into building, I don't know, Power BI metrics, or even just getting all the data out, putting it in a spreadsheet and then pulling it all apart. Or you might think that you can just get there with gut instinct and having a feel for it. But I think after a few years, if you still haven't grown and you're trying to, then it probably does come down to, well, my data's not right. I need to get this all in one place so I can actually tell what's going on, where am I making money. That's kind of the main reason, really, that people would use a PSA, or at least on the kind of small end. Also, it is just good to get ahead of the game. You're going to need one at some point if you are going to grow. And if you get that system in early, you can start configuring it and becoming comfortable with it and making sure it's all set up properly. So when you do get those first few employees in, it's just, here's the system we're using, off you go. Right. Rather than then having to try and get a new system as well as going through the difficulties of employing people.
And that's actually what happened with us, right? Because like when I first started and it was just me, I was using FileMaker, which is fine. And then granted, this is 2008, different story, right? And then I got up my first employee and we just shared the FileMaker database. And then over time, we moved to a ticketing, just a straight ticketing system. And then we finally moved to Halo. And I remember telling my team saying like, you know what, if I were starting my business today, I would have started with a PSA, right? And so like for us, it was tough because we had to shoehorn a lot of data in. We also have a pretty large employee base, so it was a lot also getting everybody on board with that. So I like the idea of like, even if you're a 1 or 2 person company, getting into a PSA now, because you're setting yourself up, you're building that foundation for growth, which is a huge part. Because I know a lot of MSPs don't quote unquote want to grow, but if you're not growing, you're going to go out of business. So you have to have some growth in order to keep going. And this is a good foundational piece, I think, to do that with.
Yeah. Now for me, I think that when it comes to a PSA, because I'm big into automation, right? And so for me, a PSA in a 1-2 man shop helps tremendously when it comes to just automating some of the business processes. For me, it was billing. Billing was the huge thing where I was able to get a really good grip around that by using my PSA and QuickBooks, and I could bill in a matter of minutes rather than a matter of hours. And by doing that, it sped up my billing cycles to where I was generating cash flow every week instead of, like most small MSPs, wait till the end of the month to do billing. Not a good idea.
Yeah. So what's separating Halo from, because you mentioned some of the other players, what do you think is separating Halo from those other players?
I think a lot of it is direction of travel, and the fact that we're still innovating. We're still making changes. We release versions every 2 weeks. So there's always new things in the beta if you want to go and try the beta version out. And then every 2 or 3 months, that stuff makes it into a stable version. And just the speed we're going means that in a year's time, we're just going to be so much further ahead of everyone else. We've got a load of cool stuff with ChatGPT or OpenAI that's pretty much ready now for production in terms of kind of auto categorization, auto resolution of tickets, things like that. And we're looking to expand on that a lot more. And the other thing is we're a company that's focused solely on being a PSA solution. That's all our revenue. That's our complete company strategy, is to be service delivery. That's our focus. We're not going to go out and buy an RMM or all these other tools and try and consolidate them into some package that we sell you. This is it. This is what we want to do. We want to make the best one possible, and we want to have majority market share. That's it. We want to be the PSA. So I think that's kind of mostly, that's what makes us different, is that our whole strategy is that, and we want to be the best tool out there for it. Whereas everyone else is trying to do everything, creating kinds of different revenue streams, which means they haven't really got people that are focused on just the PSA side. And even if they have, they'll get pulled off and put onto the RMM or the backup or whatever other solution is.
I'm also a big believer in having multiple revenue streams. So like, I can understand both sides of this argument here, right? Like, for what you're doing, not having those multiple revenue streams allows you to keep that very, very niche core focus, which is hugely important. And that's, I agree with you, Tim. I think that over time, that's what's going to allow you to win this argument, win the fight against the other PSAs. I know people who are in the RMM game who are doing the same thing, where their niche is to focus just on that RMM. And I've watched them grow from 2 people to a 150 person company. And then I've pitched them being like, hey, would you ever think about doing ticketing? This is before we were with you. And I said, would you ever think about doing like ticketing or PSA? And the guy's like, no, because this is our focus. We don't want to do that. Right. But from the same token, I can see it from the bigger players' moves. And I agree with they're stifled in their innovation. But like there is that piece of like, it's okay for you to get everything from one store kind of thing. I don't know.
Well, to me, it's a philosophy. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
No, yeah, I was just going to say, I get that. And I do think the other thing, I guess, that separates us from the other big players is that we aren't private equity backed or VC or anything like that. We're completely 100% privately owned. And that means that we're very long term with our decision making. So every decision we make, every strategic decision is not about the next quarter or year even. It's kind of 5 years, 10 years. Where's that going to put us in 5 years? If it puts us ahead in 5 years, we'll do it. If it's something, we're not going to ever do anything to chase quarterly profits. And I think that allows us to be a lot more strategic in our planning and thinking. And also when we develop features, we're always kind of thinking quite far ahead. Whereas a lot of the others are having to, because of the nature of running a business, in the circumstances they have to be interested in these quarterly or annual profits. Otherwise, people start losing their jobs.
Yeah, their strategy is wallet share. That's what they have to do to please, the financial backing that they have, and so they're going after more revenue. Whereas somebody like you, who's doing more of a best of breed philosophy and focusing on one product to make the best product, it's 2 schools of thought. Neither one of them are wrong, but they are very different. And I think there's a lot of MSPs out there who have decided to go best of breed rather than put all of their eggs in one basket for a myriad of reasons, right? For billing reasons, for security reasons, all of those different things.
Yeah, I completely agree with all that. All right, so Tim, so let's say somebody wants to sign up for Halo and they get in. What's the first thing that they should be doing once they get themselves an account? Forgetting, I'm not talking about like doing trials or doing whatever. I'm saying like we've decided we're in it to win it. What do you like? What are the onboarding steps that someone should be doing to get themselves set up for success within Halo?
Well, we've got a good resource for that. So the first thing we suggest everyone does is go to the Academy page, which is at academy.halopsa.com, because that gives them a whole list of initial tasks to get set up within Halo, to kind of get them going. That's very much a get your basics down, so you can actually start using the system without really getting into configuring it much. Because that's when you want to then bring in either an onboarding partner, so someone like you guys, or someone from our team to actually then go and help you configure it and tweak it a bit. Because not everyone's doing it the same. It's fine if you are, but it's pretty rare that MSPs are doing things exactly the same, because everyone's growing their business differently and has slightly different ways of doing it, and that's fine. We definitely see Halo as more of a platform where you can kind of bend it to your will in most cases, rather than being something which is quite rigid. And for that, yeah, you either get an onboarding partner, use us, or you can use the documentation on the Academy, because that will get you quite far in terms of configuring it exactly how you guys want to.
Yeah. And so I remember when we were onboarding, we didn't use an onboarding partner, and we went through some of the stuff in the Academy, and our team members that are working on the Halo instance for us. I mean, we've made our plethora of mistakes, but it's so easily rectifiable. So like we had, and remember, we were trying to like mimic what we had before with our old ticketing system. And so we had when you first get into Halo, one of the things you have on the sidebar, you have a lot of stuff on your sidebar, right? You have your tickets and you can add all of these other things. And we had separate sections for like our monitoring alerts, our Synology alerts, our phone voicemails, our external tickets from another company that we work with, and all these things. And we started to realize that like we matched it up, but it wasn't working as the way the other ticketing system was in regards to being able to see that visibility. So we went and we said, okay, well, this isn't that hard to fix, right? We said, instead of it showing up in section D, just show up in section A, and we can remove section D altogether. And then we manipulate it on the other side. So that, I think that's one of the really nice things I like about it, is that I can easily tell my team, hey, this module is not working for us. Let's reconfigure it so it does this. And within like 5 minutes, it's done. And it doesn't upset the apple cart or break anything else. So I think there's a lot of flexibility within your software, which I think helps. And it allows anyone who uses it to make it the unique snowflake that they are, because whilst we can genericize a lot of MSP offerings, and we can say all MSPs should be doing, having a PSA and having an RMM and having MDM and having security and whatever, like let's get real tight on this focus here. Every MSP is going to be different. Some people are going to focus on Mac, some are going to focus on PC, some are going to focus on Microsoft, some are going to focus on Google, some are going to be cyber only. And so Halo allows you to like really drill down some of those details. I've heard from my team, albeit a little bit crazily, but like you can really drill down those details and get the things you need, so that way it's visible for you, which is a really, really nice feature.
Yeah, it's hard because we try and tread the line between having a configurable system as much as possible, but without getting into the realms of ServiceNow, where you need a software developer really to actually go and configure any part of the system. They need to actually, a lot of the time, they need to write code, literally, to let you configure new forms or new workflows. So we're kind of trying to go between that. So a lot of configurability to make it fit how you want to work, but also no code. So it is just picking options, adding custom fields, creating workflows with drag and drop interfaces, that kind of thing. Which does mean there is a level of complexity to it, absolutely. But I think that's a good thing, because we do cater to anyone from kind of 1-2 man companies up to on the high end kind of 500 person MSPs using it. And that's because it is configurable. It wouldn't work if it wasn't configurable, because you're not going to do things in the same way.
Right. And it was funny because when we were looking at Halo, because we were looking at Halo when we were looking at a couple of other competitors who we didn't go with, obviously. And I put out to the Mac admins community saying, hey, who's using Halo? And 2 of my good friends from Canada were both individually DMing and said, hey, I use Halo. And I was like, can I set up a call with you and our director of customer experience, John, and they said, sure. And I got on a call with two guys, separate companies in the same week. And I was like, so how did you onboard? And they were like, we took it really slow and we built out these modules and we did this thing and we did all this testing. And then the other guy's like, yeah, we just changed the support email to point to Halo and just took it from there. Like, it was very, very different dichotomies on how to get this done. And me and John were like, do we find some way to get in the middle? Like, I don't understand what to do here. But it was just because you can do that. You can just turn on your support email, point it to your Halo instance, and be off on the races. Or you can customize everything and do it. So it's just really nuts that you have that entire flexibility.
Yeah, and to me, that's critical, right? Because you do serve both ends of the spectrum. You can be up and running very quickly, and people can configure it as much as they want to. And that's just, you serve more of the market that way. And I think that's a really good way to have that scalability that most SaaS software tries to get, but doesn't always get. Now, I have a quick question, because with my PSA, back when I was still an MSP, you guys weren't around back then. So if you were, I probably would have used you. Is dashboards, because dashboards to me are critical in running the business, because they're in front of your face all the time. I literally built a stand and put a monitor on it and had, a little PC hooked up to always have my PSA dashboard up, so I knew exactly where I was every single day that I walked into the office. Do you guys have something like that? And what kind of data do you serve up on that kind of dashboard?
Yeah, so we do. We have dashboards. You can create as many dashboards in the app as you want, and they can either use reports from inside the application, so graphs or tables of data. You can display them on monitors around the office if you want, or you can have them as actual operational dashboards that you click into. Some people actually, it's kind of a something that came from ServiceNow really, but those guys started pushing people working from dashboards. So managers particularly, I think, don't really work from lists anymore. They actually have a dashboard and they click into something, whether it's a wheel on a pie chart or a line on a graph. They click into it and then it takes them to the data and they can start kind of digging into it a bit. So yeah, you've got the full array there of dashboards. You can also display data from other sources in Halo as well. So if you do have kind of other dashboarding tools or other metrics you want to bring in, if they've got a URL, you can kind of push that in there as well. On the more advanced side, I guess, some people do end up pulling the data out of Halo into Power BI and other tools like that. So you can also do that if what we've got doesn't meet your needs, or if you do want to kind of start data warehousing a bit, which again, probably on the larger end of MSPs, but some people do that.
Awesome.
And what about integrations? Because obviously a big piece of this is being able to, because you said in the very beginning, right? You can do billing, you can do your CRM, you can do your asset management, you can do all these things. What when it comes to integrations, obviously, you have a plethora that are already built in. I think one of the biggest ones that we like to take advantage of, and I think every MSP would, is the PAX 8 integration. So it auto pulls in all of our licensing and things from there. But there are obviously some integrations that do not exist, which we'll talk about that later. But can people build their own, and how would that work within the system?
Yeah, it's really easy to build your own. I mean, you need a developer or someone who can understand how APIs work. But the whole application is it's a front end built on an API, really. So not to get too technical, but if you've got a Chrome browser or something open, you hit F12 and you go to the network tab, you can just see the API calls that the application's making, and that's how we interact with the data. So you can make exactly the same calls we are. You can do anything you want to any part of the system through the API. Even if it's changing, backend config or creating a new ticket type or a new workflow, technically you can just do that yourself through the API if you knew how. So you've got all of that. You can create API applications with different permissions per integration if you want to go and create your own. And then very recently, we've got something cool called custom runbooks, which is really cool. And that lets you, it's kind of code still, but a bit easier because you can start to string together posts and gets and things like that through Halo as part of a workflow. So you can actually go and update third-party systems or get data from third-party systems by clicking a button on a ticket, for example. And you can start doing some really crazy stuff with that, but that gets a bit more technical.
Yeah. And then one of the other really nice things I like, and we can talk about this, we like to call it feeding the beast. So one of the cool things that Halo does is, it's normal for a ticketing system that if you have a ticket that comes in, you can look at your knowledge base and look for answers. But one of the cool things that Halo does is it will also look at previous tickets, right?
Yeah, so we'll try and match previous tickets. Currently, or previously, that's only worked based on things like subject matching, categorization, and maybe taking some keywords from the body of the ticket. But next week on the trials, people will be able to see our first kind of iteration of our ChatGPT style ticket matching. And that's kind of one of the main focuses for the rest of the year, is to start adding more features to that. And the way that works is it's because that's going to be used to match existing tickets, and then hopefully, well, it will. I've seen it. It suggests closures, and it suggests categories and priorities, and potentially even who to escalate it to, based on data from tickets that are previously matched that look the same as that ticket. And the way it does that is it's passing the data into ChatGPT or OpenAI. They've got a special endpoint which lets you vectorize the data, and then we store the vectors in the database. Then you can compare vectors, and vectors are much better to compare than text. So without, again, getting too technical on it, that stuff's going to be really cool because it's going to be so much more effective at matching ticket data. And we're also working on a repository of data with about 20 or 30,000 tickets from existing customers of ours who have sanitized their data, pass that over to us to be used, and then you'll be able to kind of start to use that for potential resolutions or categorization, even if you haven't got any tickets in the system yet, because it's going to be able to pull from all these other customers' tickets.
That's awesome. So you have some like pre-built answers that most MSPs would need just to speed their day up, because they don't have to worry about typing out this long thing about how to log into the Office portal or whatever.
Yeah. Hopefully, it's kind of that bit of it's still under development, but that one's kind of out in a few weeks on the trials. So that'd be cool to be able to demo that.
See, this is what I really like about it, is the fact that, like, we're talking about it today, and you're talking about what's happening in the next couple of weeks and how far advanced, and the fact that, like, this conversation, at the end of this conversation, you can go back to your team and say, like, hey, I have this great idea while talking to Eric and Justin, because they're geniuses. And let's tweak this thing to do this thing or whatever. And, like, it'll be in play. This is what I like about, this is one of the reasons I like Halo, and one of the reasons why I like our RMM MDM strategy, is because, like, that old expression, like, what was that? It was like, nobody ever got fired for hiring IBM, right? Like, I mean this with love, like, you're not the IBM of PSAs. And, like, that's a good thing. Like, especially for us as Apple consultants, because, like, we're supposed to be pirates, which is, I know that's Eric's thing, but, like, which is funny how he was a PC MSP and not an Apple MSP after all that whole pirate Steve Jobs thing. But, like, Halo, much like Adagi, is very much like the pirate in the PSA field, and I love that. I really do love that about you, and I think that especially the smaller MSPs need to get on board with that, because I think everybody always thinks about, like, those big players from the big K company down in Miami, and I don't know where the other company is, but and think about it, like, if you want to be a scrappy business and, like, you want to get yourself going and you want to make money, work with other scrappy businesses, because, like, at the end of the day, you're all mentally the same, right? You're all like I know that you and I have the same haircut, but, like, we really want to get in, like, think the same way about getting stuff done. And that's honestly what I really love about this product.
Yeah, I mean, I think, having dealt with Adagi a little bit, I think one of the other things that makes us similar is they're still a product focus company, where the whole company is still geared towards making and improving a product that will sell. Whereas a lot of these other companies, especially, I don't know, like Kaseya or whatever, they're not really a product company anymore. They're a marketing and sales machine that sells a lot of products.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, and there's other companies out there in the space that I feel like are like that. So I don't know, Ninja or whoever as well. I feel like they're definitely still a product company where it's build it and they will come. It's that kind of approach where you need a good product, you want to get a good product, and then people will want to buy it. Whereas, everyone else has kind of got these portfolios, and I don't know, 80% of the company really is just focused on selling a product to a consumer. So I think it is a kind of a different top-down mentality, because I'm still heavily involved in product, and having spoken to Sal or whoever over at Ninja as well, he's still heavily involved in product. And I bet you Adigy's leadership team or whatever are still very interested in the product.
Yeah,
Whereas,
Jason there, I talk to him on a regular, and he's always talking about it the same way you do.
Yeah, he probably gets excited about it still, and he loves it. And I bet you Fred at Kaseya is not excited about product. I've never spoken to him, never met him, but I'm almost certain that he doesn't get excited about the products they sell. Really, not about the technical side and like how it all works and that kind of thing. And I think when you have that, it just changes the whole company. Really, it changes how everyone else at the company sees it as well. Because I think at Halo, what we've got is a load of people who really care about product, and I think that kind of shows.
And I think that lesson can be expanded out to the MSPs also, because this is, and Eric's going to love me for this one, this is a Gary Vaynerchuk move, which is, a lot of us want to be in the clouds, but we got to remember that we got to play in the dirt. We got to get gritty. I have no problem doing that with my own company. Like I love fixing problems. That's like my thing. And if I can spend a day, I mean, it's tiresome as it is, I will spend a day doing triage and tier 1 tickets, because I'm good at it. It's what got me into this business in the first place. And I just love doing that stuff, because if I get off a call and someone's like, "Oh my God, you saved my life," because I opened up Microsoft Word for them. It just makes you feel good. It just makes you feel good.
Yeah,
That's what it's about, right? Yeah. All right, Eric, anything else?
No, I think this has been great. I've kind of been watching Halo for a while, because I know that I think early on you guys were integrated with what used to be GFI Max, then was Logic Now, and is now Nsight and Enable. Yeah. So been kind of exposed to you guys for a while, so it's really great to get to talk to you and have you on the show and have you talk about what Halo has now become.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, it's been really good. It's been great chatting to you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. All right, well, that's it from us at the All Things MSP podcast. I promise you we'll try better next time. Check us out, facebook.com/group/allthingsmsp, youtube.com/@allthingsmsp, so you can watch how much liquid death I do drink during episodes. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment, leave a review. We love reading all the reviews. I don't care if you leave a 1-star review. Just leave a review. And we will see all of you next time. Bye!
From your host, Justin Esgar, and myself, thank you for listening to the All Things MSP podcast. Join the All Things MSP Facebook group or follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. The All Things MSP podcast is a BizPow LLC production, and even though we drink a lot of it, this podcast is still not sponsored by Liquid Death. And now that you've watched that mess of a podcast, don't forget to watch one of these and go ahead and click that subscribe button so you get to watch more. Yeah, just go ahead and do it. Click the button and then watch one of the other videos. I'm watching.